Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and gender nonconforming individuals to another episode of the Benjamin Dixon Show. Today is Thursday, August 24th, 2023. Thank you so much for joining me. I begin, of course, with the absolute ridiculousness that was last night's Republican National Convention debate. The RNC gathered in Milwaukee, and it was, to me, it was extremely depressing to watch just how much America is in decline. And while American decline, quote unquote, American decline is the talking point that Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, uses on a regular basis, last night on that stage was the greatest example of American decline, because it showed not only are we led by absolute political sociopaths, we are encompassed about by a populace, a voting populace in the Republican base that absolutely adores and craves the most asinine and backwards policies imaginable. For example, here is Ron DeSantis' biggest applause line of the night when he bragged about his policies during COVID-19. Keep in mind, we are in a resurgence of COVID-19 with hospitalizations breaking records, with deaths surging, and with the fact that Florida alone has seen between 80 and 90,000 casualties from COVID-19 on Ron DeSantis' watch. Yet and still, this was the biggest applause he got the entire night.
Handed COVID-19 by locking down this economy. It was a mistake. It should have never happened. And in Florida, we led the country out of lockdown. We kept our state free and open. And I can tell you this, as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
Yeah. That was his tipping of the hat to Donald Trump, who wasn't there last night. Ron DeSantis bragging about his COVID policies, which, again, because they are not reporting in the state of Florida, honestly, the reporting has been sketchy across the nation. But in the state of Florida, there have been between 80 and 90,000 casualties because this man did not lock down the state. As he's bragging about his policies, those policies led directly to death. Can I contextualize it for you? I often use a comparison of the movie V for Vendetta. I don't know if you've seen it, but in that movie, there was the hero of the story went on a rampage against the government because 80,000 people in the United Kingdom were killed because of a virus. Fiction, right? It's a movie, right? 80,000 people in the entire United Kingdom triggered a revolution. 80,000 people in the state of Florida alone died. Between 80 and 90,000 died. And here this man is bragging about it on stage to a thunderous applause from an audience that obviously wants that type of madness. See, I was covering this last night with Leftist Mafia. We were watching it on the stream on our various channels. And I honestly just sat there and realized how impossible it is for me to cover this. Because how do we just simply give coverage to a platform of political sociopaths who are encouraged on by a body politic, not even the body politic, their individual base, the base of the Republican Party, who craves the very destruction that's killing them, that's killing their loved ones, and that's unfortunately killing the rest of us, particularly as it pertains to COVID-19. But that was just the beginning of the madness. You also had Vivek Ramaswamy, who used last night as an opportunity to introduce himself to the entire nation. I want you to listen to this clip where he went one step further. He went one step further and decided to say that climate change itself was a hoax. Now, in this clip, it's going to sound as though the audience is booing him because he said climate change was a hoax. But I want you to listen to what he said before. I want you to listen to his prelude, because I'm of the opinion that they didn't boo him because he said climate change was a hoax. That has become a standard talking point in the Republican Party. I believe they only booed him because he attacked the rest of the candidates on the stage as being bought and paid for.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax. And we have to declare independence for it. And the reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is, more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid?
Yeah. So as you can see, once he got past his own arrogance, calling everyone, I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone on that stage is bought and paid for, even Vivek, right? But his arrogance and his ego to think he could get away with saying that without getting booed, right? Once he got past that, then he actually said some things that resonated. It's some idiocy, right? It's just absolute absurdity to suggest that more people are dying from climate change policy than actual climate change. He called it an anti-climate, or rather an anti-carbon agenda, right? And if you ask Republicans, or at least CNN asked a focus group of Republicans who won last night, they said Vivek Ramaswamy, the millennial, the 38-year-old who doesn't believe in climate change. In fact, he believes that it is a hoax. That is the future of the Republican Party as we endure the hottest summer in our lifetime and the coolest summer for the rest of our lives. It's the absurdity of it all. And if we go a little bit further in the debate, they used fentanyl and they used the border as a pretext and justification of an invasion of Mexico. And of course, Ron DeSantis, another applause line of the night, was when he got the opportunity to flex his sociopathy, saying that he's going to leave the drug cartel dead at the border, stone cold dead at the border.
President of the United States, your first obligation is to defend our country and its people. And that means you're sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people who are being killed because, well, we're not handling both. And so I am going to declare it a national emergency. I'm not going to send troops to Ukraine, but I am going to send them to our southern border. When these drug pushers are bringing fentanyl across the border, that's going to be the last thing they do. We're going to use force, and we're going to leave them stone cold dead.
I mean, stone cold dead. It was so predictable that I actually was able to say it with him live in real time as I covered it with Leftist Mafia. Like, you know where this really small man is going when he starts talking about the border, because it gives him the freedom to talk like a tough guy. And of course, this is what their base wants. They cheer on and applaud extrajudicial murder. And they also buy into the lies that is late-term abortions, as Tim Scott got his moment in the sun. Pause and actually let me just go on this tangent real quick. Tim Scott has one story to tell about himself, and it is a story that Republicans and white conservatives absolutely love. It's the story of him being a poor man raised by a single mother who worked her way up from poverty and the shame of being a poor black single mother. And then he, of course, used his opportunity to speak to make another lie and to forward another lie about late-term abortions.
We cannot let states like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until the day of birth. That is immoral. It is unethical. It is wrong. We must have a president of the United States who will advocate and fight for, at the minimum, a 15-week limit. I am 100% pro-life conservative. I have a 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve. We can't leave it to Illinois. We can't leave it to Minnesota. We can't leave it to Illinois. We must solve that issue with a 15-week limit at a minimum.
Thank you,
Brett,
Senator.
I think we're all pro-life, but what I would love is for someone to ask Biden and Kamala Harris, are they for 38 weeks? Are they for 39 weeks? Are they for 40 weeks? Because that's what the media needs to be asking.
Yeah, and of course, that was Nikki Haley getting in a little bit of the same lie. Late-term abortions only occur when the mother's life is at risk. And I want us to pause. We're going to go to break. And when we come back, we'll cover more of this debate. We'll cover what's happening in Russia with the murder of and the execution of Prigozhin. Didn't mean to laugh about that, but it is kind of funny. We'll talk about so much more. But before we go to break, let's be clear about something. Late-term abortions only occur when the mother's life is at risk. And what the Republicans are trying to do is portray families, mothers and fathers, or even just the mothers who have major life-threatening complications during their pregnancy, and in this case, at the end of their pregnancies. They're trying to make it seem as though those women just want to abort babies just because, completely erasing the reality that this is one of the most difficult decisions these women have ever forced to make, because in this case, they want the baby. The late term abortions, they want to come all the way to term, but their lives are at risk and they have to choose between the mother and the child. And what these politicians are doing is not only portraying these women who have to make these decisions in these most barbaric terms, but they're also condemning these women to death. The mothers. That's what a late-term abortion is about. Will the mother live or will the mother die? And yet this is another lie in the litany of lies from an obscenely absurd Republican Party. We will be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Show right after this.
I'm in sync with the earth, 10 toes deep, flower child from the turf. I never switch sides, like even when I die, I'ma ride for the squad, light up tires in a hearse. I've been on a vibe, kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle of the time of my life. I'm never so packed for the stack, never lied on the rap, got a bag from the way that I write it. Queen looking Tyson, do that ass survive, doing 80 to the house, then I hit it.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
I don't know for a fact what happened, but I'm not surprised.
Do you believe?
There's not much that happens when Russia and Putin are not behind, but I don't know enough to know the answer. I've been working out for the last hour and a half.
That was the president of the United States responding to reporters yesterday upon hearing the news that Yevgeny Prigozhin was killed in a plane crash yesterday, almost 2 months to the day after his failed coup, I think is the best way to describe it. According to the Associated Press, Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin and some of his top lieutenants were presumed dead in a plane crash that was widely seen Thursday as an assassination to avenge a mutiny that challenged President Vladimir Putin. The founder of the Wagner military group and 6 other passengers were on a private jet that crashed Wednesday soon after taking off from Moscow with a crew of 3. So Vladimir Putin strikes again. And this was pretty much the context of what Joe Biden said. There's not much that happens in Russia that Vladimir Putin doesn't know about. And then let's be clear. We knew at the time that Prigozhin was making a mistake by not completing what he threatened. You don't threaten the president of Russia in that fashion and not carry it all the way through. He messed up by beginning the coup and not having any intention of actually finishing it. And Vladimir Putin, it seems, was patient enough to wait 2 months to put him in the dirt. Yeah. So there's no shock there. There's really almost no breaking news except the fact that there's a 2-month delay on the assassination that the entire world fully expected once Prigozhin failed to march all the way to Moscow. Now, to be honest with you, as I said at the time of the coverage, I'm quite glad that he did not go all the way through with his coup because of how completely unstable, unhinged, and barbaric Prigozhin is and has been through this war particularly. And it would have been wildly destabilizing to the global order for someone like him to gain access to Russia's nuclear weapons. He did have enough power. He did have enough juice at the time to depose Vladimir Putin. And perhaps he thought that he was doing something to help Vladimir Putin. That was one of the working theories during the coup, that perhaps Prigozhin was doing this to help oust the ministers of defense underneath Vladimir Putin. But they were not ousted. And now 2 months later, Prigozhin is dead. In other news, I had pancakes for breakfast this morning, and today is Ukraine's Independence Day. In 1991, Ukraine declared their independence from the former USSR, which, is rather serendipitous when you consider how many people have been killed because of Prigozhin, the Wagner Group, and because of Vladimir Putin. I want to play a clip for you that someone shared on Twitter of Tom Brokaw covering the independence of Ukraine.
This world has a new country tonight, Ukraine. The White House says it is moving toward full diplomatic recognition of the former Soviet Republic. Poland, Canada, and the Russian Republic gave recognition today. Ukraine is roughly the size and population of France. It is rich in agriculture and mineral resources. Ukrainians on Sunday voted for independence from the Soviet Union by an overwhelming 9-1 margin. Former communist leader Leonid Kravchuk was elected president and declared the Soviet Union has disintegrated.
And I honestly believe that it was at that point that Vladimir Putin, who was a part of the FSB during that time, started to concoct his long-term plan of how to restore the former glory. I don't want to say of the USSR, because Vladimir Putin has made it clear that what he's looking for today is to restore the Russian Empire, which makes all of these so-called leftists who support Vladimir Putin really laughable, because they ignore his imperialism, because they want to make it seem as though he's not really an imperialist. He's just doing a long game to bring us back to communism. Right, the glory of the USSR. No, Vladimir Putin has really fallen in love with the spoils of the USSR, which created all of the Russian oligarchs who are benefiting off of the war in Ukraine right now. Vladimir Putin is no more a communist than Joe Biden is a communist. Let's be clear about that. But it was a long-term strategy that Vladimir Putin initiated, that included influencing the leaders of various nations, but specifically Ukraine. And perhaps his greatest possessions in terms of politicians, besides Donald Trump, would be none other than the former president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych, who currently resides in Russia, right? While Ukraine is under attack from Russia, Viktor Yanukovych, who was ousted through impeachment in 2014, through impeachment with a supermajority on the heels of the Euromaidan revolt, the revolution of dignity, Viktor Yanukovych decided to take up his chances in Russia. And now I just want to repeat this again. A former president of Ukraine is living in Russia while Russia attacks Ukraine. That really just shows you how deep Vladimir Putin's tentacles reached into that man's heart, such that he has no love for his country, so much that he can live in Moscow while Ukrainians are dying. Well, today is Ukrainian Independence Day, and what better day to celebrate this on than a day after the Wagner mercenary group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin met a fate similar to that Vladimir Putin too needs to meet very soon.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and get twice the content and unfiltered interviews without any of the commercial interruptions. Welcome back to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at thebenjamindixonshow.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah. Yeah. Today is Mugshot Day. Donald Trump, former President Donald John Trump, is headed to be booked and arrested, fingerprinted, and to have his mugshot for the first time out of these 3 indictments. This is the first mugshot. I imagine that is going to be the most popular image ever on the history of the internet. Now, that's happening later today, and perhaps by the time you download this podcast, the image would have already been released. I want to pause before we continue talking about this and make a correction. I inadvertently called the prosecuting attorney in Fulton County, Fani Willis. I called her by the wrong last name in the last podcast. So I want to make that correction, and thank you to the patrons who brought that to my attention. But the office of Fani Willis has just announced that the trial for Donald Trump will begin October 23rd of this year. Talk about having the right to a speedy trial. That's in no time flat. We will see this trial, and there's a possibility that we will be able to watch the proceedings because this is a state level trial versus a federal level trial. But I want to play a clip for you of a group called Blacks for Trump. Now, we've known that this group existed since 2016. They are paid to travel around the country, and the same faces appear behind Donald Trump with big shirts that say Blacks for Trump. Now, this next clip that I'm getting ready to play for you is one of the members of Blacks for Trump, but his shirt, if you want to get an idea of who and what these people are, his shirt says N-word for Trump. N-words for Trump.
I'm here to support President Trump. You want to know why I'm here to support President Trump? Because they done did black men like this for decades. Make up charges and put them, so I know Trump is innocent. I support Trump against this corrupt, two-tiered justice system. That's why I'm here to show my support as a black man for Trump. And I'm wearing my shirt, niggas for Trump 2024, and I mean that.
As his voice starts to tremble there at the end because he realizes what he actually sounds like saying this. But let's break down this idea that Donald Trump is being treated like a black man in America when he has never faced accountability for a single thing he has ever done, short of trying to overthrow the United States of America. And, oh, by the way, taking nuclear documents, top secret nuclear documents, and storing them and hiding them in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. It wasn't until he did that. Right. Let's talk about being treated like black people. Does this black man who has a shirt that says N-words for Trump, does he believe that black people could have showed up to the Capitol on January 6th in the name of fighting for justice and came out of there alive when all of those people from January 6th, short of Ashley Abbott or Babbitt, whatever her name was, all of them went home? All of them went home, and not even half of them have been held accountable. Right. Black people are killed, summary execution at traffic stops by police officers. Donald Trump is not being treated like a black man when he gets the red carpet rolled out for him at every single stop. And this is the first time he's going to even get a mugshot. And what's more, like this idea that he is being treated badly, period, right? Like that he's being targeted politically. Donald Trump, in fact, last night on Tucker Carlson's interview, he made it clear that he has a support base that could trigger a civil war, as if the insurrection of January 6th wasn't enough.
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
There's tremendous passion and there's tremendous love. January 6th was a very interesting day because they don't report it properly. I believe it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. People that were in that crowd that day, very small group of people went down there, and then there are a lot of scenarios that we can talk about. But people in that crowd said it was the most beautiful day they've ever experienced. There was love in that crowd. There was love and unity.
On January 6th.
I have never seen such spirit and such passion and such love. And I've also never seen simultaneously and from the same people such hatred of what they've done to our country.
So do you think it's possible that there's open conflict? We seem to be moving towards something.
I don't know, because I don't know what it, I can say this. There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen, and that's probably a bad combination.
Now, that was really a mild response from Donald Trump, who previously we played on this show, made it very clear that it was a very dangerous notion for him to be arrested because he has such a vibrant support base. And now, I want you to listen to this next clip, which is given to us by Right Wing Watch on Twitter, at Right Wing Watch. It is of an America First activist, two activists by the name of Dalton Clodfelter and Tyler Russell, who are mocking boomers, MAGA, Make America Great Again boomers, who refuse to believe that they genuinely want Donald Trump to declare himself king and impose fascism on the nation.
They're all going to freak out when Trump gets back in, then he fires 50,000 people.
Yep.
And DC is just like MAGAville.
And
then the troops are in the streets going door to door.
Rounding up
undesirables who broke the law.
Yeah, who literally broke the law. Yeah. No, that's real though. We gotta when they're like they're trying to take over the country and put in a king. Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Let me watch some more.
See, now the funny thing about that to me is you have people like this who will call out and be like, these guys are fascists. Like they want a king. They want to fire everybody and they never want another election to happen. And then you'll get the libertarian MAGA people, the same guy pretty much. They're like, no, what are you talking about? They don't want that. And we're over here yeah, we totally don't want that.
And then we go live in private and we're like, we do want that.
Yeah, that's what they actually want. Donald Trump knows that. Tucker Carlson knows that. That's why he posed the question the way he did, and that's why he pressed to get Donald Trump to say something to that effect. The Republican echo chamber, the conservative echo chamber, from all the way down to Tim Pool and the dregs of society, they want that. They're calling for a civil war. They want the violence, and they want to do exactly what they're saying in that clip, that they want to be able to arrest the undesirables with the force of law. And they think that it's a game, because it's all, honestly, to them, it is like a video game. How could they destroy the United States of America? How could they actually turn the United States of America into the Republic of Gilead? It's a challenge for them. They want this. Donald Trump wants that. His ego desires that. In fact, his ego demands that. And so to the brother wearing the N-words for Trump shirt, who thinks that Donald Trump is getting treated like a black man, when have you ever seen black people, whether they be the president of the United States or just some random podcasters, being able to get away with conspiring to overthrow the federal government? Hell, they won't even let us have thriving black communities without bombing them out of existence, brother. Coming up in the patrons only episode, Rudolph Giuliani has already gotten his mugshot. He has a couple of statements that we want to cover. And then, of course, we need to go back to the rest of the debate, because the evening was not complete without more absurdity. And I want to reiterate that when we hear the phrase America is in decline, that stage, that debate stage last night was the quintessential example of America in decline. And the reason for that decline is the fact that the United States of America has been committed to not white supremacy, but white sub-mediocrity that comes in the form of white Christian conservative men using barbaric force to maintain power. And we're facing that same barbaric force right now with the lies, with the deceit, with the bigotry, with the hypocrisy, with the violence that they are fomenting. Like, people are being murdered because the pushback, the resurgence, or rather, I'll phrase it like this, the patriarchy is striking back. White male Christian supremacy is striking back. Patreon.com/the BPD show to get access to that. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/the BPD show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.